Well, it looks like I need to do another video here about silver, and it would make a perfect video response to Greg Vegas. Can't remember the last part of his thing. It's like 9509 or something, but I'll link to his. Well, you'll see in my video. It's a video response to his video. Where he gets asked, Greg, where do you think where are we going to be at in price of silver at the end of the year? Where do you see? What do you think? And basically, Greg says, looking at charts and whatnot only, what silver's done against the S&P, his little X-wave theory thing, or not, I don't know if we called it X-wave or just the X, whatever it was called. He's saying I'm thinking at least $38, but I could be way off. And by the way, when I'm way off, I don't mean like silver should be 20. It could be higher, and I'm way off. My response is actually, I don't know how long he's been into the silver market, and, does he know about guys like Lindsey Williams that has had phenomenal accuracy with everything that happens in the world? Matter of fact, Greg, I don't know if you know about Lindsey Williams or not, but he's got a few videos, not him personally, a few videos or several videos on YouTube, but shows that record him calling in, radio shows. The Alex Jones shows had him on. I found him in 2006, at the end of 06, and watched his video online. It was called The Energy Non-Crisis, and it was posted like in January or February or something like that of 2007. I'm sure there's multiple copies of it online now. He gives no copyright problems. Take it, download it, put it up, redistribute it, etc. I can't even get into it now. I'll be talking for probably an hour, but this guy knows, or at the time knew, a couple of different retired major oil executives that we down here in peasant land would call the elite. And he said then the price of gas was going to $150 a barrel soon. And as we all know, by the middle of the next year or whatever, it in fact was 150. Matter of fact, 147 to be exact. And while that price was high, he has the nerve to get out on the airwaves again and say, oh, by the way, I talked to my elitist friend, and you'll never believe where oil's going. And when it goes there, as I said previously, when it would go to 150, don't call Lindsey Williams asking if I'm a prophet of God. Don't ask if I'm a psychic. I know this elitist friend of mine who tells me this information. That's the only reason I'm accurate. So sure enough, $150 barrel, he nails it. While it's at around that price range, he says soon, in a matter of months, it's going to go down to 50. And for at least the first half of 2009, it's going to stay there. And possibly below, of course. I'll be damned if it didn't do exactly what he said. And when it got down to, or I think almost right at 50, I did a video on this, by the way, a while ago. And it was called something like the Lindsey Williams timeline and what's coming next, or what's in the future, something like that. And I went and posted exactly what he had been saying for all these different interviews and things he said, and in that one video that I'm talking about from 2007, events that happened after that, the price of oil. I mean, I kind of logged it to show you this guy's right on the money. So Saudi Arabia at that time says, we're going to decrease output by like 2 million barrels a day to push the price back up. And when you know, within a matter of a week and a half or so, the price goes down to around 40. Right in the face of Saudi Arabia saying we're going to cut production to push the prices up. Didn't matter. How could that possibly not matter? In a supply and demand world, how does that not matter? It doesn't matter when the price of oil is set, not by the two people buying and selling, but on a system known as Wall Street and the COMEX. And the LBMA out of London, which is the same as the COMEX, and the COMEX is mainly for commodities. Oil is a commodity. Gold and silver are also commodities. And the price of a barrel of gasoline at any given moment of any given day that market is open, the exchange, is set by Wall Street, basically. Wall Street sets the price of a barrel of oil. They also set the price of gold and silver, and coffee beans, and anything else that's a commodity. And we know for a fact that silver, for every 100 paper contracts that represent somebody, just like in the oil industry, if you went and bought a futures contract for a barrel of oil, that's what Lindsey Williams is talking about. And he says that's where the price is set. So you have these elitists with their multi-billion dollars, oil companies, major corporations, you name it, they're all in this together, this particular group anyways. And you could probably look at them as like the Bilderberg group or people like that. He mainly says this is done out of the IMF/World Bank, and I would probably agree to that, I think. And they set the price any given moment, any given day, where they want the price of oil to go, because they hold the majority of these pieces of paper, these contracts. So if they want the price to go down, they flood the market with sell orders on all these contracts, and there's nowhere near enough buyers on these oil contracts, futures contracts, to buy them all up, so the price plummets. And then when it goes down to a level that they feel comfortable, they themselves will stop selling as many as they had, retract that, and let the market slowly build back up to wherever they want it to go. He successfully proved that that's the case. So, because we all know JP Morgan Chase has now inherited the massive short position from several years ago, and by the way, side note, every major player that has held on to that silver short position, and that short position is strictly in the COMEX, etc., paper markets, LBMA and COMEX, that's what sets the price, so that's why I'm talking about it. They have all went under. Everyone trying to maintain and hold the silver short position for one reason or another has gone under. And now, last but not least, apparently JP Morgan is the last holder of the silver short position. And by chance, as fate would have it, they had a large loss the other day, a few weeks ago, of, well, just $2 billion. And $2 billion turned to 3 and supposedly 5 now. But the initial losses, when you hear these people report on them, they are usually leveraged 10 to 1 on average, sometimes higher. 10 to 1 is the norm. So when you hear about a loss, what you're basically hearing is that's the original number. So you can probably multiply that by 10. So if it was 3 billion or ends up being 5 billion, you can multiply that by 10, which would be $50 billion in losses for none other than JP Morgan. And just before that happened, the head of the commodities area over there at JP Morgan, Blythe Masters, who never comes out, never does an interview, comes out and does an interview right before this takes place, about a month before or so, right? And we just, basically, the gist of the whole interview was we hedge for our clients. We hedge positions and all kinds of things, including silver, for our clients, not for ourselves. This isn't JP Morgan, it's just for our clients. And the lady asked her, well, there's a rumor that you guys are, really hedging against the silver market there, and that's for yourself. No, it's for clients. Any hedge position we have is for clients. And then a little bit later, some kind of hedge position they had blew up in their face. And we still don't even know the complete outcome yet of how bad it's going to be. I can assure you it's not going to be pretty. So, I've got to give you a little bit of this foreplay, if you will, of where I think, or why I'm not even going to say what I think the prices will be at the end of this year. Because if the elite don't want it at a certain price, it's not going to go there. If they want it or allow it to go to a certain price, it's because they wanted it or allowed it to. Having said that, with all these things, MF Global blowing up, JP Morgan having trouble, this video I did a couple days ago about the mining company Barrick, how they may be in deep, deep trouble here shortly if they don't get the approval on their mine that is on the Chile and Venezuelan border, and it's not looking good because there's an ice cap in the way, and they said it wasn't, and it is. In Venezuela's, like you said, there was none of it in our particular territory. There's at least 25% of it here. That's used for drinking water. Not looking good for old Barrick. And Barrick had two investors, major investors, back out and say we don't want to invest in this. So they can't mine an extremely important mine that's responsible for 25% of gold and silver that they produce. And I'll just quickly recap on what I said the other day on this article I read. They owe Silver Wheaton Corporation silver at $3.90 per ounce because they made a deal back in the 90s for that price. And it was good for a long, 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 long time. If they can't mine that mine and make most of their money on the gold anyways. $30 silver to $3.90 silver is not going to bother them when they're making tons on gold. So if they can't get that out of the mine, long story short is that they're going to have to pull it out of the COMEX, probably, LBMA, the paper markets. They're going to have to place an order, a futures contract, except say, well, we're not here to make money, you know, in a futures contract later on. We're going to immediately buy this futures contract and immediately demand delivery. Here's the full amount. We don't want leverage at 10 to 1. We want, here's the whole 100%. Give us the physical silver because we got to get this stuff melted down for Silver Wheaton. Or just dump it on Silver Wheaton's front porch and let them melt it down. I don't know what the agreement is, but you get the point. They will have to then rape and pillage the COMEX in order to get enough silver to make good on their deal with Silver Wheaton. Silver Wheaton, the deal is that Barrick Gold Mining Company gives Silver Wheaton somewhere between 150 to 200 million ounces of silver, I think, per year. The LBMA has around 100 million ounces. The COMEX has around just over 30 million. Let's just call it total of 140 million to be safe. Silver Wheaton needs 150 to 200 million every year, and currently the entire amount, not every year, because but right now it's steady at 130 something whatever million ounces. And then you have people like Sprott Management, Eric Sprott, with his basically he's got a GLD and SLV type of fund, but it's Sprott's version. And when he says we have the gold and silver to back our contracts, our stocks, shares, we have it, and trust me, he does. He has to make large purchases periodically. Can you imagine if Silver Wheaton needs their silver, Eric Sprott needs his silver, COMEX, where are you at? I think what would ultimately happen is that the COMEX wouldn't go under and the COMEX wouldn't go down to zero. What would happen is major delays in fulfilling the orders to start with. And then when that gets out of hand, MF Global Part 2, MF Global Part 3, MF Global Part 4, MF Global Part 5, and everyone's going to realize we paid you all these brokerage houses in full and immediately paid for silver. We didn't let them hold on to the money for a little bit and intermingle it with their own accounts. We immediately asked for delivery. Which is like you going into McDonald's, buying a damn cheeseburger, and it's sitting right back there. You can see the damn thing. It's sitting there. Sorry, sir, your money's gone. In this cash register was a bunch of money. I just used it. In 5 milliseconds from the time you gave it to me, I accidentally used it on a bet. It was a bad bet. I lost. I'm sorry. But the regulators are my friends, and they're going to side with me. Piss off. If you're lucky, you'll get some of your money back. If not all of it, but it'll be money, paper money, not the item, not the cheeseburger you wanted. So in this case, silver, we could see the COMEX basically saying, yeah, we still got all this silver. We still got millions. Everything's good. Everything's good. Everything's good. But there's going to be a delay. And then that delay turns into a bigger delay and a longer delay. And everyone's sitting there saying, hey, I already paid you up front. You said you had this in the warehouse. When you report these numbers of millions of ounces, that's reported right out of your warehouse. What do you mean there's a delay? What's going on? I'll drive there myself. No, we don't do that. No. Right? So that delay will then turn into, we need another MF Global. Your brokerage that you, Eric Sprott or Barrick Gold Mining Company, you use that broker? Yeah, I had no choice. That's the only way I can get it. I have to go through a broker per your rules. So what? It went under, man. Sorry about that. How much money did you give them? Oh, a few billion. Billion. Really? Gonna have to get tied up in court now. So then the CME group will be brought to court because they said it on TV. We are responsible for the trades. We stand behind them when we basically insure them. And then when MF Global happened, it's not our responsibility. Yeah, it's not our responsibility. And that's where it stood since. Still no outcome. John Corzine, head of that company, former head of Goldman Sachs, of course. No handcuffs, hands off, don't touch them, no charges filed, no nothing. And his own emails have now incriminated him along with other people's that work there, proving he said do it, signed off on it. When in front of Congress, when he gave his testimony, I didn't sign off, I didn't really know about it, I wasn't made aware of it till it was too late. No, he knew well in advance, okayed it, made sure it went through, and part of that was JP Morgan getting like $200 million. JP Morgan said, well, we asked them for confirmation. We made them sign a letter stating that they had the money. Why would you do that? Why would JP Morgan do that all of a sudden unless JP Morgan absolutely knew they didn't have the money and that they were going to have to steal it from their customers to pay back JP Morgan? And at the same time, stopping deliveries of the December futures contracts of gold and silver, by the way, who were demanding delivery last December. 1/3 approximately of all deliveries did not take place because MF Global was handling them, and to date hasn't happened. And right around the same time, just prior to that, barely prior to that, end of November, mid-November, end of November, Hugo Chavez of Venezuela, we want our 92 tons back from London and U.S. Federal Reserve. And we want it now. And he said that a few months prior to that. By November, he finally got it. And you mean to tell me the very next month we have shortages and deliveries of gold and silver? No, there wasn't shortages. It was just because MF Global went down. Oh, okay. Right. So the paper mechanism for setting the prices, or the mechanism for setting the price of gold and silver and all other commodities, including oil, is the COMEX, the futures exchange, right? The CME group. And the CME and the COMEX could get into big trouble, as I've said, if they can't produce what they claim they have. And these are numbers that they say they have. They say that LBMA has 100 million plus ounces, and the COMEX has, 33 or whatever it's at now, million ounces. They say they have that. And then when you look deeper into this, you realize there's a lot of people and places out there that lease gold and lease silver that they own, that at any time it's kind of like a bank. You're supposed to go in and get your money out. They can go and get their gold and silver back out of the lease. And we're finding out slowly right now that people, like in Switzerland, prime example, goes into his allocated account at his bank. Allocated means it ain't going nowhere. It's always there. It's yours. Walks in, I'd like my allocated gold that I paid for. It's been here for years, whatever. Goes back there, vault's empty. Now hold on a second, he says, I have the only key. You guys don't even have the key. I have the only key to this vault. He walks in, opens it up with his only key. Not only is his stuff gold not in it, this is another story, by the way, besides the Switzerland one. Not only is his stuff not in it, but someone else's items are in his thing. So they do have a key. So these places that tell you you're the only key holder, this is your account, it's like a safe inside here, we can never open it unless you come in and bring the key. That's why we're telling you it's allocated. He walks in, opens it with his key still fits perfectly. His stuff's gone, his gold, a bunch of gold coins, quite a few gold coins he had. This was one particular guy. Then we have the bank in Switzerland that I originally was just talking about. And that bank had an allocated account, this guy paid for his gold to be put in there, boom, gold's not here. Where is it? I don't know, it's just not here. I'll tell you where it is. I know where it is, because history tells me this. I already know the answer. They've leased the gold out. And then whoever they leased it to probably also leased it out to somebody else, and it somehow ends up in JP Morgan's vaults ultimately. And I find it fascinating and interesting that of all, like the SLV and all these major places where gold and silver, especially silver, is stored, JP Morgan runs the vault. JP Morgan runs the vault. That means JP Morgan has physical possession of other people's silver that they don't even know, are not even aware of that they have. And when all this crap goes down, and I do expect some kind of big false flag attack, Chicago got hit today, the Sears Tower went down, and the CME group was right next to it, and it went down, and what's the other group there, the Chicago CME, there's another one over there, the COMEX is in trouble, oh my God, all the records are gone, we don't know who had what, and well, who's sitting on all the silver? Well, JP Morgan's vaults are safe. Maybe they'll just pay a fee and keep all the silver or something, who knows. So, where do I think the price of silver is going to go? No telling. It could crash down if they want it to. But it does take minimum of $15 an ounce on average to get it out of the ground right now. So even if it was to crash to just absurd $8, $10, number one, I'll be screaming, I'll be making a video daily, multiple videos, screaming at you, buy silver now, you will never have this opportunity the rest of your life. Buy it now. I don't care what, buy it. And then it will go where it's going to go. And by the way, Lindsey Williams, the guy I told you about in the beginning, said ultimately, and we're getting close to the time period where he said we're going to start seeing some problems with the dollar. It'll be towards the end of 2012 when this dollar thing becomes a major, US dollar becomes a major issue. It's not going to be completely gone, but the world's going to look at it as if forget about it anymore completely. we're going to default on the debt that we owe the world, mainly the Middle East, because they've been holding it. And part of Lindsey Williams' story is that in the 70s, the whole oil scare was fake. Never really happened. It was just a lie. They made it happen, but it was a lie. So that we could tell the people in America, we got to go to these terrorist countries because they've got all the oil. We know we've brainwashed you into being, those are bad guys, but now we need their help. We need oil from them. And everybody said, okay, I'm not standing in line for 2 hours for gas anymore. Do it. And the agreement we made with them, through Henry Kissinger at the time, he was Secretary of State, we said, look, we'll set you up with all the oil equipment, we'll set it up, we'll take it out of the ground for you on your property. With the extra profit, with the profit you're going to get, you'll be extremely happy. You will come out of third world status. You will become a first world country. You will be very prosperous. On top of that profit, we're going to give you more profit. More than we're agreeing to basically right now. And with that extra profit, we need you to buy American securities, bonds, T-bills, right? And that's the extra profit on top of the profit you're already very happy with. No problem. Where do we sign up? Oh, and by the way, when you guys form this thing called OPEC, you cannot sell oil, buy, sell, trade oil for anything other than US dollars. Well, it still sounds okay to me. They all did it. They all agreed. These 30 and 40 year agreements that they've had are basically coming due. So they still have all these massive amount of bonds, and oil, until very recently, could only be traded in US dollars. So every country in the world had to have US dollars to buy oil. So now you can see where our debt is being paid, how our debt got so big and how it gets paid for, basically. We have to keep printing this money so other countries who need it to buy oil use it. So we've scammed the whole world. Having said that, Lindsey Williams has said, and if he says it, I believe it 100%, we are going to leave them with an empty bag of bonds. They're going to be so pissed off when we devalue the dollar. We're going to devalue. And it's either A, devalue the dollar itself, or B, devalue the amount of bonds we owe, cut that in half. Let's just say it's 50%. We're either going to devalue the dollar 50%, which leaves them holding 50% less, or we won't necessarily touch the dollar itself, but we will take the bonds, the money we owe these people, and devalue those 50%. Either way, it's the same thing, and they're going to be so pissed off, they won't sell us oil anymore. And miraculously, you're going to hear about this fantastic oil find in either 1, 2, 3, 4 places on American soil or right offshore. One of them will be Alaska. The oil rig is already there. It's the largest in the world. It was put there last year, I believe. It is called the U.S. Oil Liberty Rig. While he was saying it, he said, look on the news and tell me what you find. I went and looked online. It's being dragged over there as we speak. That was a while ago. Right to where he said it was going. The largest ever created. Why is that? We ain't got no oil over back in Alaska. We only got so much. I mean, why are we putting this massive rig over there? He already said we had a pool of oil there that they found in the 60s and early 70s. And then they found another one later for a total of 200 plus at least 200 years. 400 years total for American and including all future growth that they see coming. They hushed it up so they could pull this crap off. We've all been paying crazy gas prices because of it this whole time, so they can pull off this agenda. Last but not least, the climax of this damn video that you've been painfully waiting for. Where's the price of gold and silver going? The price is going, if these elite keep it under their control, and crap that I just mentioned about the COMEX and paper doesn't blow up in their face. They want silver at between $75 to $100 an ounce, and they want gold at $3,000 an ounce. That's their prices. Because I see so many things happening, people waking up. Oh, and by the way, the stuff in the Middle East that started with Egypt, went to Yemen, went to Libya, went to Syria now, and we're about to go in on our own. UN, we can't get China and Russia to play ball with our sanctions and security crap in the UN. We may have to go in on our own to help those people. Yeah, we're there to help the people, right? Lindsey Williams said 4 to 5 months in advance. I actually have the video, in case you're wondering. October 2010 is the time frame I did this video. And Lindsey Williams did his. It was either in October for me or November for me of 2010. But he did it for sure in October of 2010. Came out, said they're going to go, you're going to hear about unrest, whatever, they're going to take over these other countries, It's going to start in Egypt. Again, right on the exact order I just gave you. When's this going to happen, Lindsay? He told me about somewhere between around 4 and 5 months. Roughly. Okay? Swear to God, it was almost exactly 4 months later. Egypt's in the spotlight. They're overthrowing the government, and there's police are killing people, and oh my God, we need help. It's all over the news. You see all the crap going on. People, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people outside. Wow. No, this was a It started on Facebook. There's a revolution that was started on Facebook, and the people of Egypt had had enough, and it went and grew on Facebook. Social media did it. And then it went to Yemen, like he said. Then it went to Libya, Gaddafi. And also he made another claim. Every time we get rid of one of these dictators, yeah, right, the Muslim Brotherhood's going to take over. We're going to give the Muslim Brotherhood each of these countries, ultimately. And I just heard about the Egyptian elections taking place. How the two top candidates was ex-guy from the former regime and the new guy, Muslim Brotherhood. What are the chances of that? Just goes to show you what kind of control they have. So if they have that kind of control and they say they want silver at $75 to $100 an ounce and they want gold at $3,000 an ounce, and Lindsey Williams saying this time frame for major political and economical, especially the dollar-related problems, is going to be towards or at the end of 2012. That's their timeline. Doesn't mean their timeline can't be postponed, because by the way, they expected 2 to 3 months for Libya in the same amount of time frame for Syria to get the job done. It was like triple that amount of time for Libya, and it's even longer now for Syria. We aren't even close. Well, we were kind of close, it seems like, but the timeline is way off now. But it doesn't matter because they don't work exactly well. By December 2nd on, 2012, we're going to do this. No. And he explained it. The elites say we're going to do this first on our timeline, then we do this, then we do this, and then we do this. Here's where we think it will take place, time-wise. But it doesn't matter. This is A, B, C, D, E. When these things happen, you'll know. So he also said when the Eurozone blows up, Euro is kaputs, and starts to have major issues, and it's clearly we're getting close to that, you will have a matter of weeks to get out of any US dollar denominated type of assets. It'll start there, and when you see that, that's the trigger event that the elite know. If they have anything left in US assets, they'll already be out of it. And when he asked the guy who's telling him all this, what do you recommend people get into? He basically said, Lindsay, paper money is for the peasants. That's for the people. We don't use paper money. We use real money. We use gold and silver. That's what he told him. He says, Lindsay, you ever wonder why there's no taxes paid on gold and silver? Taxes are for you guys. We don't pay taxes. That's why there's no taxes. And you know what? He's right. You don't pay tax on gold and silver. That's very interesting. So if I go to sell my silver right now, not that I would ever dare do that, but if I did, and I walked into the coin dealer, he can actually, and I make sure that I don't trigger any IRS things. Can you, how much is silver today? Okay, I need to sell you approximately $9,400 worth of silver. Keep it under 10 grand so that you don't have to file certain paperwork. And believe me, they know that game. No problem. Here you go. Come in the next day. Or maybe let my wife walk in the next day. Or my father or friend every single day. And then say, okay, let's go to the next coin dealer, 5 blocks away, and do the same thing. You can unload all your silver and gold. And I'm telling you, stick with silver. It's your money. There's no taxes paid when you buy and sell it. And there's no income tax collected unless you decide you want to pay taxes on it. It's not something like a piece of paper where they track everything you do with it. Take your 401k out early, 20% hike, hit, plus another 10% taxes. 30% is lost on your 401k if you're even lucky to get your 401k out. You got a job? You got a job? Yep, can't get out of 401k. Boat anchor to your leg. When it goes over the cliff, you're going over with it. Sorry. So, worst case scenario, silver, and I don't mean by the end of the year, just when they finally get their crap done in this timeline, these elite, silver will be $75 to $100 an ounce, and gold will be $3,000 if they have it the way they want it. I don't think they're going to have it the way they want it, and I think there's going to be some external forces, perhaps China and Middle East and other nations, Asian nations, buying massively gold and silver, including India, which actually is taking place as a matter of fact, and there's going to be a problem with them fulfilling these orders. And if you can't fulfill these orders, you can want silver at $75 to $100 all day long in one hand, and crap in the other hand and see which one fills up first. And the crap's going to fill up first because your $75 $100 silver is not going to mean anything when the paper says it's worth $75 to $100. The comic says it's $75 today. Okay, I'm going to place an order. We don't have any. There's going to be a disconnect immediately, and those who have it will be setting the price, which is how it's supposed to work, not a piece of paper. And by the way, I'll finally end this video, for God's sakes. When I talked about the silver contracts, the paper contracts, there is 100 paper contracts for every one thing of real physical silver that represents those contracts. So if one person out of 100 says I'm demanding delivery, the other 99 can't demand delivery. That's the ratio, basically, of what the reality of the matter is. Which also lets you know that they've had to allow this massive, at least 100 times to 1 hedging or ratio in paper to real thing in order for them to keep the prices where they're at. So can you imagine when just a tiny few select people finally realize I need to demand delivery and they completely clean out the comics, there's going to be so many more masses of people holding paper contracts that want to do the same thing and they won't be able to. And that will force this whole thing to blow up and cause the price of gold, and especially silver, to go where it belongs. Not where the elite want it with their paper market controlling system, but where the real, true market puts it. And those prices will probably make you cry if you don't already own it. They will be so high, so absurdly high, it will make your brain spin. $100 an ounce silver will be a freaking joke. $100 an ounce silver, when it happens, will be like, you know, $6 silver right now, and then we're seeing $30 silver. So $100 silver could be $300, $400, $500, $600 in a flash. When? End of the year? Have no idea. I'm not a fly on the wall. I don't know Lindsey Williams' elite friends, and as he said, their timelines change, and they do have Plan Bs if Plan A does not work at all. And right now, Plan A with Syria and Libya is not working out too well. Libya, yeah. Syria, still not. We still haven't gotten the UN approval. And warmonger John McCain, well, we may have to go and we can't let these people suffer. We're going to just have to go in ourselves. This kind of violence has been going on in Africa, the whole entire nation, or continent, forever. The whole continent of Africa has been having problems like this where people could use our peaceful security forces to fix things. Why aren't we over there? Why are we choosing right now, out of 30 and 40 years of these people being in charge over there, right now to go over into Syria and right now to go into Libya, which we've already just done? And within 2 weeks of the rebels in Libya, within 2 weeks it was already announced they had a central bank and an oil company on standby ready to go. These rebel cavemen in the desert already had a central bank with the same fractional reserve paper money principles that the whole rest of the world follows, and an entire new oil company on standby. They must have did that by themselves. There must be intelligent people out there in the desert. Or was it our guys pushing the Muslim Brotherhood right into place? It's our central bank, it's our oil company, but it's got your name on it. Exactly. I rest my case. I'm done talking. Have a nice day.